Welcome back to Georgie's Tech. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Savant OS, particularly with the Savant Pro app and the new features with Apple ShortCuts. So, before we start, I do want to let you guys know, for the home integrators and the homeowners with the Savant system watching this, there are a couple of things or some requirements that need to be done or completed before you could take advantage of some of these new features. The first one is that you do need to have a Pro Host, particularly an M-Chip Pro Host and an active Savant Essential subscription. Without those two, you will be able to see these features available to you, but they will not be available to be executed and actual working within your Savant Home. As you see here, I do have my Savant Home app open here. A couple things to keep in mind is that some of the new features that we have within Savant OS11 is that it's going to be a really easy way to activate some of the services, right? If that's going to be your Apple TV, your Savant Music, maybe Sonos, or any other services you have available, as you see here that I have on the bottom within the home page. The other one that you want to make sure that you also have is create some of the scenes created. Now, for the home integrators, this is something that I like to recommend to you all, to make sure that you sit down with your client and you're able to, help them out how to create some of the scenes. They are super easy. They take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes depending on the depth of the scene the client wants to create. But it's something that I'm always telling everyone to do not skip this step. The other one is to also learn how to organize those scenes. So I know some clients like to have 5, 10, 15 scenes, and sometimes it could be overwhelming and they have to be scrolling down, to find that scene that they want to activate. On the top right corner, you're going to have right next to the OG Plus, you're going to have the folder icon. And from here, you're able to create folders in order for them to organize those scenes. If they'll, now keep in mind, if they want to make all scenes global, right? You have global scenes and user-based scenes. All that means is that if you have multiple users within a home, and if you want a scene to be available to all users, then you make a global scene. And the way to know is if the scene on the top left corner, you see the little globe, that just means it's a global scene, is available to everyone. If that globe is not there, it just means that that scene is only available to a particular user. And if you're able to see it, then it's only available to you. But if you want to make all scenes global and you want to organize, say you already have some scenes available for your wife, for your kids and yourself, then you could go ahead and organize those. The other one that I like the way to organize those, if you have certain scenes available to specific areas in the home. So if that's the living room, the family room, the garage, etc., then you could go ahead and organize those within that, which is a nice treat. So if you already have scenes created, let's kind of jump in. Let's go over to the top left corner on settings. Let's go over to voice, and we're gonna go over to Siri and shortcuts. This voice setting is only available from 10.6 and above. So if you have DaVinci 10.6 or Savant OS11, then that will be available. But to take advantage of all these features, then you do have to have OS11 to take advantage and be able to execute this. So within here, the question now comes, how does this work? Is this something that we're creating within Savant, or is this something that we're creating within your iPhone? So the answer is everything we're going to be talking about is actually created within the Apple's Shortcut application. This first step is the only time you actually have to do this, and I'll kind of dive in a little bit more on why that is. On the shortcuts here, on the bottom, you see Add to Siri. We'll go ahead and select that, and then now it's going to prompt us to create a wake word. So keep in mind, you can make this wake word anything you want. There are some limitations, and you'll find out, because if you're trying to create a certain or create a wake word or a phrase, and if it's something that it doesn't align with Apple's guidelines, or those are keywords that are reserved for Apple only, then it's gonna prompt you, right? It's gonna let you know that it's not available and to choose something else. But for example, let's do one for party scene or party time, right? So that means that every time I say, "Hey Siri, party time," then it's gonna go ahead and activate this here. So once you do that, we'll go ahead and hit done. And that's pretty much it you do on the Savant app. There's nothing more that you got to go to. So now we could exit back here, back to the home, and let's go over to the ShortCuts application. So now, little bit of to keep in mind. Once you create that, it is going to take maybe a few seconds for this to populate. So we'll just kind of skip to this video once it populates within the ShortCuts. Okay, so now as you see here, it now populated under my ShortCuts, and as you see, it's party time. So if I just leave it as is, it's gonna run with an empty command. It doesn't know what exactly you want it to do. But pretty much this is a straight pass through from the Apple Shortcut application to the Savant Pro app. So it's actually not touching your Savant system whatsoever, but it's using the Savant Pro app as a bridge. As you see here, it's telling me, well, what do you want to do? So if we exit out there and select the top three dots here, as you see, the shortcut is stated as such. So it's going to go ahead and control Savant Pro app. It's going to, as you see, there's an empty command in the current connected home in living room, right? So currently connected home, it just means that it's going to be controlling the current home that you have already created. In your, this is going to be kind of tie in a little bit with HomeKit. So if you do have multiple homes with multiple Savant systems, then you do want to set that up over on the HomeKit, set up your homes, set all that up so like that you're able to then distinguish which house you want this shortcut to be executed on. But for our case, we only have one house with one Savant system. So that's why it's letting me know that it's controlling it currently connected home, which is the only home that is available to us. And the next part is the living room. So this only technically applies if you are going to be triggering any services. So for example, Apple TV in the living room. So make sure that the living room is currently set up here. If you're controlling the family room, then you could go ahead and set that up and then select the room that you want it to control. But if it is a global scene that you want to trigger or execute or recall, whichever how you want to say it, then it doesn't really matter what room. If it's a global scene, it's available everywhere. The one thing I did notice, maybe it could be a glitch that Savant might have to work on, is if the scene is a user base, you do have to set a certain room that applies to you. So I know, for example, when you're setting up users, you could essentially filter them and have them access only certain rooms. So if you are a user and only have access to, say, common areas, maybe the living room, the kitchen, the family room, they have to make sure that that room is selected that you have access to in order to be able to execute the scene if it's a user-based scene. But let's move on. So what do you actually write or select in the command page? Let's actually go back to the Savant app and let's go over to scenes. Let's go over to the Georgie tech folder. And as you see, I have two scenes here. I have the party scene and the sports scene. Okay, that's all we need to know here. So if we go over back to the shortcuts in the command prompt, remember I have two scenes, the party time and sports. I can make one for party time, right? And that's pretty much it, right? Means that it's gonna go ahead and activate party time in the current connected home in the living room, right? And that's pretty much it. So, and once you execute this, if it's going to be manually or if it's going to be triggered, you talking to Siri, this works if you have any Apple HomePods, if you're right next to your phone, which most of us are 100% of the time, or if you have your iPad, then you could go ahead and do this. The other neat thing is that because all of this is all connected to the cloud, say you're already heading home and you have CarPlay in your car, you could go ahead and activate this as well within CarPlay, which is super neat as well. Now, we made one for party time. Now, let's make one for sports. So this goes back to the idea that you actually don't have to go back to the Savant app. You could just go and hit on the top right, hit select that shortcut. On the bottom left corner, we'll go ahead and select duplicate. And now we duplicate that shortcut. Now, this here is where you might have to take a few more steps. Let's go over to the top 3 on the shortcut that we duplicated. Within here, you could also rename what that wake word is. So the other scene that we had was sports, right? So we could modify that and modify this and hit done. And that's pretty much it. We have 2 shortcuts. One is for party time and the other one is for sports. So let's create one more shortcut. Remember, these are only recalling or executing those scenes within Savant. But what if you want to turn on the Apple TV in the living room? So let's go ahead and duplicate this one here. Hit duplicate. Now we have sports 1 as a duplication. And let's create this. For our exercise, we only have one Apple TV in the living room. So let's just rename this as Apple TV. It actually works better if you space it out. So it's gonna go. Now this is where it actually changes a little bit. So before it was only the scene that you're writing on the command, but now we actually want to turn on the Apple TV, right? So we could actually go ahead and we actually have to spell it or say it. Turn on Apple TV, and that's pretty much it. So we're telling Siri to control Savant and turn on Apple TV in the current connected home in the living room, and we hit done. So every time you say, hey Siri, Apple TV, it's gonna go ahead and now trigger this here, right? Now that's pretty much it. Super simple, but super cool that we have this now. And so in today's video, that's all I really want to cover. So just a real recap. If you have a Savant Home running Savant OS11 and you have a Pro Host, something like this, and you have that subscription active, then you're able to do this. And it's pretty cool that Savant has finally given a little bit more control to the client as far as doing their own automations, right? They don't have to be calling their integrator all the time. They don't have to say, hey George, can you do this for me or whatever. It's something so simple. So as far as a little bit more to add on as the integrators watching, if you have the time to help them create those scenes, walk them through how to do this, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty cool. It's really cool that Savant is leaning towards the Apple side and giving us those features. On the next video, I will be diving into potentially, I know we created this shortcut for the Apple TV, but let's just say we also wanted to turn on the Apple TV and actually go to a specific streaming source like Netflix or YouTube. So it actually gets a little bit more in depth. And the other part too is you could set triggers, right? So if you have AirTags, any NFC devices in the home, then keep in mind you could send certain triggers, right? Or you could send certain morning scenes as well, so that, for example, if you're waking up at 7 in the morning and you want Siri to control your Savant Home, maybe opening up the shades in the bedroom, maybe setting up music in the bedroom, in the kitchen, etc., etc. You could also schedule that over in the Shortcut app, and that will be all done under the automation tab within the application. But that will be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in within this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video. If you do have some feedback, or you have anything you want me to speak about or discuss or dive in deeper in what you could do within your home automation, if that is Savant, if that is Crestron, or that is Control Home 4, let me know. But that'll be it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.